tutorial starts with a song, but it's only a few seconds long.
Computer animation. Computer animation. Computer animation.
Let's get started with animation. Hi there, this is a horse. And it jumps so nicely. And it's a free model. Does it have a complicated skeleton? What is the texture like? Is the texture simple? Or how about the tail? Is the tail intact? And why is the head so stiff? Maybe the head is that stiff. Is there any special in the rendering which I did here? Well, there certainly is. You see already whenever I stop, there's motion blur in it, because Arnold renders motion blur so nicely. You see a lot of motion blur right here and at the back, but not very much at the front. When I go a few frames further, you see lots of motion down here, no motion at all, almost no, and the tail again. And here the whole horse is pretty much in motion. So this is the real time. Let me replay this with 20 frames per second instead of 50. And in the slow motion you see how precise the animation is. I wonder how it was done. And what I show you in this tutorial is how to import that file, which was made for 3D Studio Max, into Maya, get the proper textures, and enjoy the animation and maybe study the skeleton.
Ma, le cheval, das Pferd, the horse. Here is the horse. This is where I found it. It's free, you can download it. It's on Turbosquid. And it was done by Pardrag. I don't know him. I'm not affiliated with Turbosquid. I don't know Pardrag personally, but I really want to give him credit because he does a nice work here. This is his personal showroom here on Turbosquid, and this is an animated version of that same horse. And what's the difference between the free one and that one? Well, this one is running and the other one is just jumping. And we'll use the jumping one in order to experiment with it. Now, you can go to the free download here, and then you will find several options. You can download the horse as a RAW file in Studio Max format, which is 118 kilobyte. You can download the horse jump RAW in a 3D Max version with 10 megabyte, which is much larger. You have here other options, 302 kilobytes for the FBX file, and the object file is 245 kilobyte. These numbers are important because you probably want to go for the largest file first, and that's a 10 megabyte horse jump RAW. When you download it, it lands in your download folder, and it looks like this. And now you can unpack it, extract here, and what you have is images, JPEGs, and a horse jumping max, which means we can't use it in Maya really. So we can actually delete those two here and just keep the images. Now, images don't have to do anything with animation and with modeling, so we need to go back to that page and go for the FBX, because that usually contains the animation files. Let's click here, and this file is called horse jump FBX RAW. We unpack it here. So what we have now is an FBX file which probably contains the animation and 3 texture files. Now let's go to Maya, and what I recommend for cases like these is create a new project. It's so easy, and you should get organized and just do it. File, project window. So that's for your projects. And here you see where your standard scenes are being saved and the files, etc. in a folder called Documents Maya Projects in my case. And in that same folder, I want to create a new one, which I call not new project, but jumping horse. And I accept it, and Maya will create all the subfolders here. And one of them, let me point to actually two of them, are the source images. That's where we need to put our image files into. And you have the scenes, and the scenes are at the very top. So I accept this. When I open the scene now, Maya points me to the jumping horse project, and there's nothing in there in the scene folder because I haven't put the file in here yet. Now copying and pasting within that window in Maya does not work. That's why I usually copy this and I try to locate that folder in the Explorer or on the Mac on the Finder, in the Finder. This is the folder here. And I move the FBX file in here. So the FBX file of the horse goes into the scenes folder. Now I move one hierarchy higher, jumping horse, and go to the source images. And the source images wants these three files. Now let's have a look. I open the scene and I still don't see the FBX file because files of type Maya scenes is selected here, and I could select all of the files, and let's try this. And the horse lands in the scene. And we can run the animation and we actually see that horse jump from frame 0 sort of to frame 30. When you extend the frame range here to 100, for example, the horse will just stop. It will just freeze. But you can extend all that if you like. Now the skeleton is right here. Let us hide the horse and we have just a look at the skeleton. If you want the animation to loop further, you go to Windows, Animation Editors and Graph Editor, and here you see the keyframes. And you see the keyframes for the hips only currently, because only the hips are selected. If you want to loop the animation here, you need to select the whole hierarchy. So with a Shift key, you can extend the whole hierarchy, which is quite large really, and select all of them. Now you see all the animation curves, and then you go to Curves, and post infinity, that means after the actual start, we want to have it cycle with until infinity. And now we can close it. And we have a looping animation here. I think we need to stop it at 120, for example, because it's 30 frame animation, so it loops all right, more or less. So let's have a look at the skeleton. We saw some stiffness in the neck area. And that's pretty obvious now because we have lots of joints here really. But these joints don't have really amazing keyframes. They're just being stuck together more or less. So it's a pretty stable thing. Let's have a look at the tail. The tail has several bones, about 10 as well. And only the very back of the tail really animates. But the legs are really animated just great. So this is the skeleton. It doesn't have IK handles. It's just forward kinematics. Let's unhide the geometry again. Shift H. And click here in order to see the texture. And it's here all right, because we put it in the source images folder. If you don't put the textures into the source images folder, you won't be able to load the textures that easily. And it goes into a specular map and then a bump map, so I think it's quite okay. So it has a little bit of shininess, as you can see. It's a very simple map, only 3 images for the bump, for the shininess, and for the color. See that bump simulation here? It's a fake elevation, really. It looks as if it was elevated, but it really isn't. it's flat when you get close to it. Well, thank you for this really nice horse, and bye-bye.